I said, you've created a movement.
So Robert was just telling me that I've created a movement here, and it's not just me, it's me and 33 other speakers. And 6 of us are here today to really keep working this movement, keep working this movement of activating your prosperous life. And maybe if you've been watching these streams and you're inside the summit already, you have things moving in you. There's old stories coming up. There's your intuition might be turning on. You might be questioning, am I following my intuition? Am I doing that? Like, you might be questioning yourself, and this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. If things are coming up, it's perfect. And it's just a sign to go into it a little bit more to get a better understanding about how you tick. How do you receive information? How do you follow your intuition? How do you trust your guidance? And I trusted my guidance to name and create and call every speaker into this event that is here with my intuition. I didn't strategize. I didn't think it first or analyze. I really just opened up to my intuition guiding me. And then I took the movements from there. And so today we're really going to talk about, are you trusting your intuition? Are you listening to the signs and messages that are guiding you towards your prosperity? And I really like to invite you again, if you haven't already joined the summit, please press the registration link in any of these streams in the text above or in the comments below, and come in and join us, because this is a movement. We are activating prosperity consciousness right now in the present moment in the world. And it is clearing out scarcity. It might feel uncomfortable while it's getting cleaned out, but there is another way. There is another way. I'm excited to go in to talk to Robert first. Robert, tell us a little bit about you and tell us how you listen to your intuition.
Yeah, hi, I'm Robert. I help entrepreneurs and business owners achieve stress-free success using different modalities of healing. I've apprenticed with a Native American shaman for so many years, and I've mastered my breath. Actually, I've become a breath practitioner and use that as a tool to bring people in alignment, the physical, the emotional, and the mental, so that you come into the zone and start flowing. And when you're coming from that flow, athletes say in the zone, right? That's when your intuition, to tie that into intuition, that's when your intuition starts working. And I think for most children, our intuition is intact until society and our parental conditioning, our social conditioning, our religious conditioning start pounding on our intuition and start discrediting the things that we see. And so at some point I lost that, and until one other very important moment in my life, I saw my father walking by with this ladder in his hand, pretty long one. So I saw the ladder disappear in front of the door, and then I saw my father pass by, and then he disappeared in the ladder. So it was quite a long ladder, and I had this feeling in my body, and I whisked it away. With this memory, I remember my dad fell off the stairs once, and well, basically he fell off the roof and fractured his head and broke his nose. And so when I was standing above him while he was there stuck on that ladder, because the ladder had landed on his arms and he on top of the ladder, so he couldn't even get off, I just felt myself coming back into my body and realizing that what I had felt was a premonition and that I hadn't acted on that. And I got really angry at myself for not having responded. And so from that moment on, I had promised myself, whatever it is I am feeling at a deeper level, I'm going to respond to that, whether I have proof or not, whether, that was helpful. Because if something does happen and I had that premonition, then in part, I am also responsible. I could have prevented it. So that's how I got in touch with my intuition.
You're muted.
Sometimes it takes a catalytic event to really activate us into a path that we weren't following before, or a knowing about ourselves that we kept ignoring. Connie, what about you? Unmute yourself. Tell us about you and the intuition and your work.
Yeah, well, it was, as Robert mentioned, I guess premonition voice. I used to be in the corporate world. I was in the technology world. And the last position, excuse me, the last position that I accepted with that company, I thought was my dream position. To me, it was, this is it. This is exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life till I retire. But then after a few years, something wasn't sitting right with me. It's like, I don't know. And I would speak to what I call God, and I'd say, God, please, guide me, tell me what I should be doing. And I said, make it really obvious, because sometimes I miss messages. And it was actually while I was preparing for my bodybuilding competition. And I was in my kitchen, it was, I don't know, preparing lunch or something like that. And all of a sudden, the word nutrition just came flying out of my mouth. I just said, nutrition. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I should be doing. Like, this is, and I've had a passion, previous for health and nutrition. I grew up on the farm. So of course I'm really connected to the earth, and I'm an earth sign on top of that. But it shocked me. And then I thought, wow, I've got to look into this. And as I looked into it, it was just like, yes, this is what I want to do. And once I started going to school and becoming a practitioner, it's something, I guess, they say, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And this is something that I honestly know I can do for the rest of my life. I love it. I'm so passionate about it. But it's interesting because that situation showed me the intuition that I'd actually had for many, many years, but I never connected it. Even when I was working in the corporate world, I had intuition, but I didn't connect it. So once I started to connect more to, I don't know if I want to call it spirituality, but I think just more into myself, I'm like, wow, I have these abilities. I never realized that. I guess I was very logical, right? Very left brain working in the corporate world, and didn't tap into these other things.
And I like that you're saying that when we are hanging out in our left brain, strategic, organizing type of brain selves, and being in a corporate job that's highly stressful and doing things when we're stressed really can block your intuition and make you, when we're fearful and stressed and not trusting, we can close off and start contracting. And you might notice if you're contracting because you literally like squint, or you like put fists together, or you feel like, oh, that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'll say more later. Linda, you tell us about intuition and highly sensitive people in the work that you do.
Yeah, well, I find one of the traits of high sensitivity is people with that trait do tend to be very intuitive, but they tend to not believe it, talk themselves out of it. I guess you could say. I always felt very comfortable and confident that I was using my intuition with my clients. And I think part of it is recognizing, how does your intuition show up for you? So with my clients, it would just be, I would ask a question, I would say something, and people would say to me, how did you know that? Or, it would be just exactly the right question. And I don't know how I knew, it just sort of came out. And I was brought up to not believe in myself, to not trust myself. So I felt for a long time that I struggled with my intuition when it came to me, my own stuff, what was going on in my own life. What I came to recognize is that when I have an intuitive sense of something in my world, for me, it's a knowing. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like a full body knowing. And I don't know how I know this thing that I know. It could be that I need to leave something. It could be that I need to sign up for something. It could be that I need to talk to someone. One of the best examples I have of that was years ago, when I first moved from England, I was in St. Louis, and that's where I started my business. And after several years, I, with a group of other people, had started a professional women's networking group. And since I sort of coordinated the thing, they wanted me to be the president of it. And my friend, who was an excellent networker, really she's a connector. She agreed to be the vice president of it on the condition that she would never have to be president, because she didn't like standing on stage talking to people, and that was fine. So we were going for a couple of years, and it was fabulous. We had so many members. The energy was really high. It was a really great group. And then one evening I was driving to the meeting, and all of a sudden I just knew I had to step down as president. And not only that, but my friend Karen had to be the president. And I was shocked in the moment, because I thought, she's going to hate this. Because she doesn't want to do it. And I didn't know why or any of that. And it turned out, so I told her, and eventually I left. She did become the president. And then my husband got another job, and we moved out of the state. So I didn't know that was going to happen. So that was my intuition telling me. Now, my friend Karen will tell the story now about how she was so angry with me at that time, that she was so upset with me. But now she says it's the best thing that could have happened to her, because she really had to learn to step up and be visible and use her voice. So for me, and I think that was the first time I realized that when it comes to using my intuition for myself or tapping into that, it's almost like a full body knowing, and you don't know how you know or why you know. Whereas with my clients, it's slightly different. So I think a big part of it is understanding, how does your intuition show up for you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Some people might hear something. Some people might just get a thought. So I think it's important. When I work with clients, I'll often say something to them, and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, I thought about that, and I was going to do that, but then I wasn't sure." So I think we know, but we often talk ourselves out of it. So it's learning what that looks like for you, I think.
I love that you're saying that. It is learning how it operates for you, because we have these clairs, like clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, knowing. And then there's another one. I always forget the different names. Maybe Trisha will know, because she has something called Clara even. And so you want to know, discover your intuitive skills for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about things working for us, but it might come completely different. You might not notice things the way that another person will. And it takes practice, right, Trisha?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I study the subconscious mind a lot, because I got kind of stuck, right? I got stuck on my subconscious scripts. And I think that for me, the intuition, I call it my IGS, my internal God system. And so it's like all of us have our own individual, right? Like we want to align with that more, so that way we don't run those subconscious scripts in our life. And so I've been noticing, even about myself, is like, you have to distinguish between the two. What is a subconscious script that's trying to basically keep you safe and comfortable, versus your intuition that might make you a little uncomfortable about, like, maybe the new business idea that you have, or whatever it may be. And I've noticed for me that intuition is like, it's quiet, right? It's a peaceful knowing. Whereas when your nervous system or your subconscious, right, is trying to keep you safe or comfortable, then you are doing different things, right? Like for me, I keep working. Oh, it's a new business idea. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do this and do all of things. That's not my intuition. My intuition is actually telling me to calm down, to listen, to be quiet, to meditate, to do things that are actually really going to propel me forward versus the do. And it's more of like the being and being like in tune with who I am. So I hope all of that made sense. It made sense to my brain.
Yeah, it does make sense. And we have a collective addiction to doing and strategizing. And being is not the norm, even though being is the practice. Amani, I'm curious about your way of interpreting intuition. Really curious.
Well, I love what Linda and Trisha have been saying, that this sense of intuition feels like knowing. And the way I describe it for me is, the way I recognize it is there's no emotional charge attached to the thought that emerges, right? And so it also may not seem logical at all in any way, but there's this trusting and knowing. So one way that I've experienced it is, I may be laying down resting and I hear a voice, get up, make the kids lunch. And it's like, what? It's like the day before. Why would I want to do that? The kid makes their lunch. That's when that self-talk comes into play. But the comment or the thought that emerged was plain, simple, knowing, no emotional charge until I start talking myself out of it. But so I find when I follow it, then I realize, oh, next day, why that happened, all the stuff that happened in the morning. And if the lunch wasn't made, we would have been delayed, right? And recently, I'll give another example where you may fight against this thought that doesn't seem to make sense. But as long as it's holding this energy of certainty and peaceful, I know that intuitiveness that comes to me just comes as a gentle thing, and it was, there's this month, February is coming up, right? And I'm of Afro-Indigenous descent. And so because it's Black History Month, I get a lot of gigs and there's a large opportunity for prosperity here, right? But usually my thing would be get all of the messages out to people to know I'm available for work, set up my packages and all of the things. And for the first time, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. There's no rush. There's no desire to attach to the hustle to get that work so that prosperity can exist. And so my intuition is saying you're going to be fine. No, you don't have to do that. My strategic, logical mind says this is what you've got to do. And literally, trusting intuition meant you're not going to do all of the things. Don't worry about it. And literally, I've got so many people recommending me already. I've had work piling in without advertising, without having to promote, all of those things. And so your title, intuition, is it guiding you? It absolutely is guiding you. When my intention is to be prosperous with all that I do, I have to trust that inner knowing that may not be logical, right? And I think most importantly, one of my clients revealed this to me, and it was something that came up. Excitement, right? Being excited about this idea does not mean that's your intuition. Right? It does not mean that's your intuition. So I like that for me. Intuition does not have any emotional charge, negative or positive. It's just this, it just is. And it seems to come at a moment when I'm not focused on the thing I'm trying to do. It just comes randomly. And so when that comes randomly, it's like, I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention for sure.
And it requires paying attention all the time, like being more conscious instead of unconscious in our day. And it's a practice as well to cultivate consciousness, to cultivate being conscious, which is also, it takes a practice to be cultivating prosperity consciousness as a mode of operation or a program that you're installing while you're uninstalling the scarcity program or consciousness that's been operating. And for me, lots of my stories were coming up as you guys were talking. I was one day driving. Okay, you might notice that sometimes you get intuitive guidance or hits, things drop in random when you're driving. I don't know what it is when you're driving. One time I was driving on the highway, and I love driving on highways that are not busy, like the side road highway. And I was in Alberta driving on the highway, and I was going out with this guy that was 30 years older than me. And all of a sudden it just dropped in. You had to break up with him. You have to break up with him. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know.
Sure.
Like it was like a confirmation drop in, right? Like it wasn't like I was thinking about it at that moment at all. It just happened. And then I took the actions, and then I couldn't explain. Like I just said, well, I just know that I have to break up with you. And he wanted me to give him all these excuses and like reasons why. And I just said, I'm following my intuition. And it wasn't a good enough reason for him.
No, of course not.
I didn't bend. I did not bend. I stuck with what I knew. I stuck with what I knew. And one other little story is, I know you were saying it doesn't take an emotional charge, but when you're wanting to follow your intuition and it's not coming in with an emotional charge, but then you keep going against it. You keep going against it. Frustration, irritation, and anxiety go up for me anyway. If I keep discounting and ignoring my intuition, like when I was working in a professional accounting firm, and I knew that it was time to jump off the cliff and go 100% all in on my purpose and passion, this summit would not happen if I did not follow that intuition. I'd keep going into that office, and I would like drive into the parking lot, and I'd be like, ugh. Like my energy would just like deflate. I'd go into the office, the main head honcho would pick a fight with me, and I'd be like, all right, I'm out of here. Like it would be the cues and the signs to help me believe that my intuition is telling me to do something. If your intuition is activating right now and you want to get into this summit and hang out with us even more, tonight we're having a VIP call where we're going to be really breaking through all the ceilings and the things that we're talking about here so that you can start activating prosperity consciousness as your mode of operation and eliminating and removing that old scarcity, not enough program from your system, from your body, from your mind, from your heart, from your life. I invite you to register for the summit, and then you'll be asked to come join us in the VIP. I think all of us coaches are going to be there tonight, helping and supporting you with anything, any question you have about your life, your business, or your relationships. And we will be delivering like the highest quality service straight from our intuition to you. So I encourage you, come in. Register for the summit. Come even further and press the button on activating your prosperous life and join the VIP and come in for some coaching. There's thousands of dollars worth of coaching and VIP bonus gifts and unlimited access to these interviews that are carrying a movement in them, a high frequency of consciousness in them. So I invite you to join us. Robert,
can I just add something?
Yes, yeah, come add.
You were saying if you're intuitive, right? If you feel the intuition, then join the summit. And I'm saying, well, you might not be feeling the intuition. Use your head then and join the summit.
Yeah, use that left brain logical mind.
Because regretfully, really, and that is without judgment, but so many people who even proclaim that they're very intuitive are not using their intuition. They are not connected and believe they are. But there's so many signs that it becomes apparent that they really aren't. So if you don't think you're intuitive enough, I don't care. Use your head and just join us up.
Yeah. This is the type of work that we teach, is how to listen to yourself, how to be yourself, how to tune into your authenticity, how to connect with your purpose, with your passion, and prosperity. Okay, Robert, the hidden energy trap is Robert's talk. And so if you want the full interview with Robert and me, you got to get into the summit to get the full access to it. And your talk, the hidden energy trap, in relationship to intuition, like how does it operate?
Yeah, oh my God. Again, everything that we're not true to is an energy trap. And life is full of these energy traps. We have to pay attention. That's so important. We have to pay attention. And it takes a lot of energy, courage, and a whip, to keep your mind, attentive to everything that's going. Become that observer and pay attention, because life is always signaling constantly. And if we can start honing into those signals, and listening to these impulses. Many of you I was hearing, yes, it's just, I know deep within, I just know. And yeah, from a certain aspect, from our point of view, it is knowing. But what is this knowing? What is this knowing? Because all these other people, believe, I just know. I had this mountaineer in my training once. And I said, and we were talking about intuition. And I said, so, okay, you're a mountaineer, a guide, right? So how do you know when there's danger? He says, I just know. And so I started, pushing his buttons. I was like, ooh, I said to the whole group, ooh, he's the guide. He knows. So if you say we need to jump and run, then we got it. Yeah. Well, how do you know? He said, I just know. I'm the mountain guide, and by the time I was finished with him, he was so angry at me because I said, well, no, I wouldn't follow you, for one bit. We were doing a water session and the storm was raging and we all had our buddies. And all of a sudden the guy just pulled his buddy that was breathing in the ice cold water, pulled her by the hair, dragged her out. And everybody looked at that and they all started running. And this guy, this mountain guide, created such havoc and such chaos. I didn't even have the time, and there was nothing going on at all. But he's the one that created all this chaos. And I didn't have it in my hands anymore to warn my assistants, hey, relax, nothing going on. Anyway, long story short, in the evening, I said to him, listen, I take full responsibility for what happened. I should have been on top of things and warned my assistants. Anyway, so I said, so I take full responsibility, and I tried to say it in the best manner I could, not to offend him. I said, but it wasn't a really good thing that you did there. And then he started screaming at me. Do you have any idea how many seconds it takes for a thunderbolt to hit the water? Did you call the weather forecast? Did you check? And then I actually told him to F up. I had to scream louder than him because it was the shock that I had to stop him in his tracks. And I looked at him and I said, did you look at the chaos that you created? Are you aware of what you had caused? And that's when all of a sudden, look at the picture, become aware of what was going on. You created chaos. Mm-hmm. And then he fell still. If you would have come to me and you would have said, Robert, pay attention, we might be facing danger, I might have listened to you. Right?
I think what's going on, what you're tuning into tomorrow's topic, and it's going to be, well, I think it's going to be Friday's topic because tomorrow's topic's already chosen, but paying attention is also part of your intuition. Linda, when you're breaking free from imposter syndrome, which is your talk, how often is the ignoring of our intuition like helping us to keep hiding?
Well, yeah, I have a good story about this. Well, it was a painful story, but it was really the way I learned this lesson, because I had imposter syndrome for a long time, and I'm naturally a sort of helper personality, so I do like to help people, but that's often you have to look at consequences. So being a helper is not always the right thing to do. So let me show the example. So I had a friend who's a writer, and she wanted to start magazine. She didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. But what I did know is how to get groups of people together, start a project, and make it happen, essentially. So we did that. We formed a company. We started the magazine, and took a year to pull everything together. And I had said right from the beginning, as soon as we get the first issue ready, I'm going to step down, because this is not something I want to do going forward. I'm happy to help get it started, but I'm not going to continue after that, because I knew intuitively it wasn't the right thing for me. So we worked for a year. We got the first issue ready to go. And so as we had our board meeting, I said, right, it's great. We've worked really hard. We've got the first issue out. And so now it's time for me to step down and for somebody else to step up and take the lead. And everybody said, oh, you can't go. What are we going to do? If you go, blah, 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 all these things. And so I chose, I suppose, in that moment to ignore what I knew was right for me. And I let the helper part of me take over, because I didn't want to let anybody down. And I trusted them more than I trusted myself. And so I said, all right, I will stay a bit longer. I ended up staying there for 5 years. And it was one of the most painful experiences of my life. But what it made me do is I vowed that I would never ignore my intuition again, ever. And that part of me, that helper that tended to put everybody else's thoughts and needs and desires ahead of my own, I would never let that happen again. I love helping people, but I'm not going to do it at the expense of myself ever again. But that was who I thought I was as a helper. That's what I had to do. I had to sacrifice myself for other people. Not true. So, excuse me, look at the consequences of what happens when you don't follow your intuition, when you don't do what you really inside know is right for you, and you go against that. There are consequences, and they can be painful ones.
Yeah. And some of the consequences when you do follow your intuition is you're going to piss other people off in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when I left I was a waitress for 10 years, like from 14 to like 24. And I got really bored waiting around for tables, because guess what? I'm a visionary. I like to create the things. And I could, doing the same thing every day got really boring for me. And there's this old story in that industry is like that you make a lot of money. No, you don't. Mm-hmm. No, you don't. Comparatively, if you follow your passion, you're not making a lot of money. And so everybody, even my customers, like, you shouldn't quit. You're the best waitress there is. All these things. But I just was like, no, I got to go on. I got to move on. And yeah, I'm really good at everything I do. So therefore, the next thing I do, I'll be really good at it too. And then I've also pissed off my husband because I quit accounting to follow my passion. Yeah, well, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to, I loved what Linda said, is because when I have chosen to follow the worries of my family or my partner, I am suffering and frustrated and irritated and angry and anxious. And then using every tool in my tool belt to like manage every day. That's not what my tools are for. They're for expansion. Anyway, short story. Trisha, what did your soul come here for? It wasn't to listen to people's other fears and do what they tell you to. I know that. Turning divine purpose into prosperous reality is your talk title. Tell us more about what did you come here for?
Yeah, well, I think all of us came here for ourselves, to be honest. We came here to connect with our creator, whatever you call that, source, God, universe, whatever it is. And that's exactly why we came here. So like you said, you're suffering if you're not listening to your intuition. And you have to be, I'll say the word selfish, right? Because it seems like people look at that as a negative word. Well, we all came here for ourselves. We're all really just worried about ourselves in the long run and what that's going to get us, right? Like all of us here today and on the whole entire summit, we are here to serve others, right? And be healers and connectors and coaches and mentors and all of the beautiful things. But we have to do what's best for ourselves at any moment too. And what keeps showing up for me recently is not accepting just any client that comes to me. I am only accepting certain people, right? I now have an application to work with me on my website. You might or might not be a good fit. And that is going to save so much suffering for me dealing with clients that I don't really want to work with. And it might not even be a good thing for them to be working with me because I'm enabling them. And I want to work with people that are taking action, that are willing to put themselves out there on social media, in email, and all the things to spread their beautiful messages out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things I was going to say earlier that I forgot to say was like, I'm creating this series now called like the subconscious scripts that we're operating from, because I've noticed so many subconscious scripts in my life. And it's just a social media, like a daily social media, like, are you suffering from this kind of script? But I just really want to propel people forward, but you have to find it in yourself first. 100%. That's why we're here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when we put ourselves last, which has maybe been the norm for some of you watching, and I know we've all done it ourselves, every single one of us in this summit, because we teach what we learn and what we experience, how to transform it. We've gone through the fire. You just leak energy, just like Robert's title. Like, it's just a leak. It's just a leak. And you deplete yourself and you lose your fire. You lose that passion for yourself, for your purpose while you're here. Amani, the divine, no, where is it? I know you're activate your divine abundance system, ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
How does that connect? I mean, this is all connected to intuition.
Oh, absolutely.
Network, right?
Yes, absolutely. Inspired action is one of the practices that includes making sure intuition is a part of this process as a coach for entrepreneurs who are creating businesses that are innovative and doing business in a new way, right? As new earth entrepreneurs and conscious entrepreneurs, some of the old time strategies do not align with the soul and with their purpose. And so they need to begin to trust the decisions they're making. Like if intuition is saying, you know what, I am only going to post once a week, even though strategies say you better post every day, following your intuition is essential to make sure that you're not going to be burning out. And so, yes, I'm teaching my clients this practice of allowing inspired action to design their strategies important, and to be flexible if that has to change, because your intuition is saying, not right now, maybe later, and all of those things. So intuition is essential when you're taking inspired action and potentially going against the grain of what strategies say will lead you to success and prosperity. And this is a really great time. I'm appreciating this conversation because in this moment now, I realized I had not been following my intuition about something that keeps logically in my mind would be something I could be doing and should be doing and figure it out, right? Make it happen. But my intuition again just said, you didn't follow me when I told you, don't go into this program. This program's not a fit. And so I'm appreciating this conversation right now because it's going to be a no for me. Even though all of the pieces look like they logically would be fantastic for now. And like Trisha was saying, I too apply that practice of not taking every particular client. It needs to be a process to see if we're a fit. But also for me as an entrepreneur, I've got to make some decisions. And this conversation has allowed me to say, you know what, follow that intuition. Everything looks beautiful and looks like a yes, but my intuition is telling me no. And I've decided it's going to be a no. So thank you everyone for that. Yeah.
Awesome. That's the power of when you come together with powerful people. and we're essentially masterminding here what intuition is for you. And this is a very high value conversation and you're getting it for free. So in the comments, please put in the comments what's coming up for you, because maybe you're remembering one of our stories is like activating an old pattern or an old story for you of when you didn't follow your intuition. And those old stories are just that, they're old. They just are a remembrance. It's like, yeah, I know what my, it's just like Imani was saying, is like, yeah, follow the intuition. Connie, I mean, I had to follow my intuition with Connie. Connie is my nutritionist and my personal trainer. And I was suffering with reactions on my lips, from your lips are connected to your digestion. But my doctor thought it was my lipstick that was causing my lips to flare up. Or, he's just making excuses. He never even thought to give me, blood tests, or that the mouth is the pathway to your digestion system. General practitioners are not specialists. Okay. So I turned to a specialist after meeting her multiple times. We actually passed each other in the doorway of a podcast. I was coming out for my interview and she was going in, and we passed each other in a doorway.
And we had no idea who we were.
We didn't know each other before that. And then somebody called me to come into an event and be a vendor. And Connie was actually the host of that event. Like somebody, so this is how intuition also works, is like, if you trust your intuition, you trust the bigger field of like allies and guides and support systems that are invisible. Or maybe some people can see them, but I don't. I just build relationship with them. You have to just trust that the right people are coming into your life. And maybe you're watching this right now and we're the right people coming into your life. And maybe you have a for sure no, or maybe you have a for sure yes. But with Connie, I got multiple messages that she was the one to support me. And my goal was to be in 100% of my energy, full of life force, so that I can do this type of work, guide clients, plus guide summits and speakers, and create communities that are activating prosperity in the world, prosperity, purpose, and power in the world. And after a year of working with her, I'm just giving you a testimonial here right at the moment, Connie. But after a year of working with you, we figured these things out through trial and error and through her expertise. And that's the type of thing that you have to like go through the process of understanding, how does your body want to hold a higher frequency? It might need to let go of all nuts. It might have no dairy in it. And it might be you have to eat all these green leafy vegetables all the time, and I love it. I love it. I love it because it creates so much energy in my body. And so Connie is the power of menopause is her talk. And you want to listen, tune in to your body intuitively, because it's also giving you signs, aches and pains, flare-ups, reactions. Intuitively, it's talking to you. Go ahead now. I'll let you talk.
Well, it's interesting because when you contacted me about the workshop, I didn't even need to convince you. No. There was a fee to be a vendor and stuff. And you just said, I just know I have to be part of this. And, so that was interesting. Of course, again, I didn't even know that we had already met in the doorway until I connected with you on social media. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so serendipitous, I guess. This is so cool. Like, we've actually met. But the other part that I really love is following your intuition. I didn't have to convince you to be a client. And, Tricia, how you said, like, you have an application for people to apply to work with you. I do the same thing because I don't want to convince anybody that they need to work with me. I want them to know that they do need to work with me, that they're ready to start to move forward. And that is listening to what your body needs. And, through the whole process, Jennifer, I mean, you've been amazing to work with because you've seen the benefits. In fact, you're that type A person that you wanted to implement everything at the beginning. And I said, no, we've got to do this in steps. But just your willingness to be open to my suggestions as far as, okay, let's, you were really good about journaling all the food that you were eating. And I was starting to see patterns of reactions and, okay, let's cut out this, let's cut out that. And that's, ideally, that's where I want to guide my clients to where they're so connected to their body that they eat something and they go, that doesn't agree with me. And then you start to make changes. But we get into, and we all do it. I did it. And I still sometimes do it when I get busy and, just get into a pattern. But, we get into patterns of living our life a certain way and doing things a certain way. And we don't take time to notice the messages that we're receiving, and whether they're messages from our body, whether they're, divine guidance messages, whatever. We need to slow down and just listen. Like me saying, God, what is my purpose? Please, make it really blatant. And for the word nutrition to come flying out of my mouth, I could have just ignored that. But, now that I'm doing this and just the changes that I've seen in my clients, I mean, Jennifer, it's just been amazing to work with you and just watch everything that you're doing and implementing. It's so fulfilling for me. So I don't want to convince anybody they need to work with me. It's like, if you're just saying, I just feel awful and I want to connect to my body, and wow, she sounds like the person that could help me with that, then that's the people I want to work with.
Yeah. And like Connie said, intuition, but she might have asked source or the universe or God 5 days before that word. There is always, the time delay. Don't get hooked up on how much time it takes for your question to be answered, or that it might happen immediately, or it might take 3 weeks or 3 years sometimes.
I think it actually took me months.
Yeah.
I kept asking the question because I knew being in technology as a consultant wasn't the right thing. So I just kept asking. And that's why I finally said one day, make it blatant so that I'm not missing this, please.
Yeah. Especially, and we have viewers here watching, and maybe you're just watching and listening and tuning into something here. I only hang out with the highest quality people. I have a rule, and it's an operating rule that is installed into my intuitive guidance system. I call it an IGS as well, but it's intuitive guidance system. And the rule is I only work with the highest frequency and highest compassionate, loving, benevolent people. I only call those people into my life. And so that's who I curated for this summit for you, because I want to work with the highest quality people. And this, we do work with each other. We work with each other. This is how mentoring and coaching and personal development and professional development works. You work with a community of people. Then we're all moving money around and growing prosperous between each other. But if we all just hold tight, it's like, oh, I can't afford that right now. I have to wait till the money is coming. You're ignoring your intuition when your intuition is saying, yes, move forward, keep moving forward. And so I've made it really inexpensive for you to move forward slowly and start to digest and consume all these interviews and get coaching from us in person so that you can start to notice yourself more. Pay attention. What were you saying, Amani?
I said flourish. I said flourish.
Yes, Robert. So you can flourish. You can flourish. Yes. Yes. I'm so grateful for everyone who's been watching. We're coming back into the comments. I'm a little slow on the return, but I'm coming. And everyone else is, going back into the comments and connecting with you. And we're here for you. We're here for you. Send us direct messages too. Send us direct messages, whatever platform you're on. We're open to conversation with you. And we're going to be back tomorrow. And I think it's about something around the prosperous body. It's about the body. We're going to go deeper into the intuition of the body and how prosperity is inside of us, and really the inner wisdom of our true selves, being authentic. So if anyone has any last words before we leave, shut them out now.
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
do. Really short, because I wanted to complete something I was saying, because to help some of the audience of understanding, when do you really know that it's your intuition calling, right? Because, you know, this mountaineer was saying, I just know, I just know. Maybe if he would have said, and it's a bit of a paradox, but maybe if he would have said to me, I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it's coming from, because intuition is really beyond this material, three-dimensional holographic, you know, reality. It's coming from a complete other plane of existence. And when we open to that, we can trust. And it starts with an impulse. And so I always say to most people, follow that impulse, just like Imani was saying. Yeah, you know, one thing is telling me this, but something deeper is telling me no. You know, who are we gonna listen to? So
We'll leave
follow
it there.
your
We'll
impulse.
leave it there.
Follow the
Yeah,
impulse.
follow your
And
impulse.
Then, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. I'm so grateful. We'll see you all tomorrow.